I am so excited for this conversation tonight and honored to have Layne Kennedy here with us. Y'all, she has made such incredible movements, not just with her own consulting business as it pertains to meditation and helping people regulate their nervous system and heal on a neuroscience level, which is something that, frankly, we've talked a little bit about on the show, but I'm excited to dive deeper tonight, really to get that scientific perspective. And the thing that's really cool about this evening is that not only is Layne working with actual government, she's employed by the county government in addition to having her own business, but she herself has personally gone through to hell and back. Is that fair to say? And Layne, I'm just so grateful for your time tonight. And I'm excited for what we're going to explore because, you know, I asked you, I said, what's on your heart for tonight? And you're coming up on a year anniversary of just getting really horribly sick yourself. And the reaction you got was more so, how could you, of all people, experience that? And so you're coming at it from the scientific neuroscience lens, but then also the personal lens where you've walked through it. So first off, thank you for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
It's always an honor and a privilege to be able to share and to connect with others. So I really appreciate being here with you.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Me too. Me too. So can you kind of walk us through, how did you even get in this field to begin with? And then what happened?
You know, getting into this field, I think my life has been a series of accidents. Really, truly. I was thinking about that a couple days ago, about how all of these great things in my life have just been me showing up at the right time, at the right place, and like meeting the right person. So of course, I had a deep interest in spiritual practices. I live in long-term recovery from alcoholism and addiction. So, you know, that journey led me down a path of meditation. And, you know, I lived in Bangkok for a while and studied Buddhism for a while. So I have this really core sense of me, like just, I want to devour peace. I want to be calm. And about 9 years ago, I had this moment. This is like kind of a critical moment in my life where I was standing outside of my car yelling at somebody because they weren't driving how I thought they should be driving. And that moment was epic because I saw myself for the first time having this trauma response. I mean, it was a true trauma response. And I didn't know the language. I didn't know the words. I didn't understand what was happening to me. I just knew that my kid was in my car. You know, I left him in my car. I was standing outside yelling at somebody. And that set me off on a deeper path of finding meditation and mindfulness and all the things that I teach now. I really had to go down a rabbit hole, so to speak, to calm my own nervous system.
It's so those kind of third-party out-of-body experiences, you know, the ones that really do wake us up. I'm curious, what was it in that moment was it the work that you'd been doing leading up to that moment? Like, how did you actually come to have that kind of, you saw yourself for the first time?
Yeah, I think, you know, when my experience is that I've been aware. I'm an aware, conscientious person. I observe a lot. And so it's one of my strengths. It's one of my gifts, is that I have that ability. And so when, you know, I had that moment, I was like, oh, this needs to change. I need to change. And, you know, I was already, at that point, I had already done yoga teacher training. I'd already gone, you know, doing that stuff, right? So moving towards mindfulness, moving deeper into that study, it was like the next indicated step. So it was just there for me. And again, it was like another accident happening in my life that guided me to the next step.
It's curious, you know, Layne, I think of how you've you were doing the work. There's something around do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote that I heard where it's like, just clean your room. And I love that concept of, if you're not sure where to go and what to do, clean your room, like get yourself in order. And I think it's those incremental small steps on a daily basis that allow for us to then be able to even be positioned. Like I started therapy and started asking hard questions. And then when I came to the moment of effectively crisis, I had at least a semblance of a foundation to have that third party out of body experience. Because for me, it was very much so, it was a demarcating line where I no longer was blind.
Correct.
Because I'd been doing the work, even though I would have never known. It's not like, here's the 3 to 5 steps to see yourself.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I think that's what's happened. Like last year when I collapsed, it was the same thing where people around me were saying, this lifestyle lane, it's not sustainable. You can't continue on doing this. And for me, I'm thinking, I'm just working. I'm just doing what I know to be true. Like this is the life. But when I collapsed and find myself in the ER because I've broken my nervous system, it becomes an issue.
Right. And so 9 years ago, you had this moment where you were saw yourself from out of body, watching yourself at somebody with your kid in the car. And it's like, wait a second, what happened? So then what happened after that? Like, what were your next steps to kind of start almost like regaining? I love how you said this. You said devouring peace.
Mm-hmm.
So what got you from there to here?
Well, that's when I started being a student. That's when I decided to learn. That's when I started working with Jed Brewster. That's when it's like all these opportunities opened up for me where I was able to learn. I was at the right time at the right place, and I was offered the job with the city because they were seeking, someone to teach mindfulness to the first responders. And I said, yes, I can do that. Because I had already started that training. I had already gone down that path of becoming this instructor. And then COVID hit, right? And when COVID hit, everyone all of a sudden wanted to become a meditation teacher. Everyone, right? Like then I was like, what's happening here? This is so weird to me. People are paying for, like, what is happening? And I'd already had like 4 years of teaching and kind of going through the process. And so COVID definitely changed things and how, the meditation world evolved, I guess, and opened the door wide open. It kind of broke away the stigma around meditation. So then my life became a little bit easier.
Yes, I can only imagine. Well, and the fact that they wanted you to come in and teach it shows that there's more of a general, I think, even accepting of it and benefit realization, perhaps. And how do you define meditation? Because you hear people say that, and I think a lot of people, to use the term these days, it's woo, right? Yeah. So what is meditation from kind of a scientific perspective?
Yeah, it's, when I'm teaching, I come from the model of, you're going to find what works for you. So I trained, right? I sat with monks, stillness, silence for hours. And there is that can be the path for you, but you can also do walking meditation. I think the definition is finding stillness, finding peace. And that can happen by just looking out your window and watching the rain, right? Connecting with your breath. That is what I would say what meditation can be for you.
So really, I think that a lot of times folks will, I think that there's an over-spiritualization of it.
Yes.
And it sounds something like, for example, my mom, the most wonderful person, very fundamentalist Christian. And the word meditation has been, I think, distorted from even to your point, the scientific, like just connecting, like actual breathing, and the benefits of deep breathing are so incredibly profound. Every single person needs to know how to deep breathe, and so it's perhaps as simple as that. And it has become over spiritualized and associated with it's like taking anything and branding it in a particular way.
Correct.
So how would you, for someone like my mom, how would you talk about meditation to someone like her?
So simplified. How do you connect with God? Like, it comes down to that. Like, if you're sitting there praying, are you then listening? Because that is the moment right there in that stillness. That can be meditation. It doesn't have to be anything else. It doesn't have to be woo. It doesn't have to be spiritualized. It can just be a moment of connection with your belief. And that could be God, whatever, in Christianity, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking too, what you said about connecting with your breath. I think that perhaps meditation is that type of just connection. And then it's whatever you're connecting to. Because I actually do think that process of actually really being connected, even with myself, was something I was so disconnected and disassociated from myself that I didn't have a firm grasp on reality. That's very dangerous, So therefore, it's like a ship without an anchor who's trying to, stay in one place. You can't. You're constantly going to be blown about by every whim and whiff of breeze. And so there's something around that connection and that anchoring to ourselves, to God. Even I'd be curious, like, what about meditation in terms of relationships?
Give me more information.
Well, I'm curious. As I was talking, I was like, I don't even know if this is a thing. But like, if you were to meditate alongside someone, could there be a resonance there?
Yes, absolutely. So when I'm teaching, sometimes I'll put my students really close to each other, with like 6 inches. And I can watch them come into coherence. And I can see how their breathing all of a sudden syncs up. And I can see how their eye movement begins to change. And if one person moves their thumb, then somebody else will move that same thumb. So there definitely is this something's happening there. There is a resonance. There is a frequency that is being created in that little field, when they're that close to each other.
Have you done much reading about Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes.
What are your thoughts about because he's done so much. He's got scientific data of, them being hooked up to brain scans, heart scans while they're doing the meditation. And it shows almost like the heart palpitations of, their experience. And so for those who don't believe, that's why I wanted to say, okay, what is the definition of meditation? Because there is something, and even, to my friends who are more like my mom, the actual in biblical text, they say, I meditate on your word day and night.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. It's this concept of meditation. I think that there's almost like a recovering of the integrity of what it means. Because then it's like, okay, let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Right. And let's return to it. So to this concept of coherence and the field that it creates around us and frequency and all, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my pursuit. And after my birthday in July, I will take up a pursuit every year when I have my birthday. And so
when's your birthday? What day?
July 28th.
Okay. I'm the 20th.
Oh, how fun. My dad's the 21st. My sister's the 15th. So we'll have a grand party. But it's been so cool because, the quantum field, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so far above and beyond me. And I really want to learn because I know that there's so much that I just can't comprehend, and so I'd be curious when you're saying the field, what does that mean?
I don't need to get into the spiritual woo of it. I just know physically what I am witnessing when I see the bodies line up next to each other. So when I say a field, you can feel the warmth of another body, right? I don't have to share scientific terms, or I don't have to share spiritual terms about that. You can feel it, right? So you can feel somebody else breathing. I can watch them have this experience. And then afterwards, a lot of times my students will say, like, did you feel that? I'll be like, I guess you guys did. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So I watch it. I know that Joe's work he links everybody up. He scans everybody. I think we started, around similar, doing the work that we do. I love it. Because the most important part, I think, here is that the more people are spending in that state, again, your brain is changing, it's dropping down. That coherence, right? It creates just a better mood, a better vibe, a better, like, whatever you want to call it. It's like,
yeah.
Can you hear my dogs?
I can't. It's okay. I'm glad that they're alive and well. I'd be concerned if they stopped barking at this point. Come off mute. You're totally good. Come back.
But somebody's at the door, so it's like I have 2 Irish wolfhounds, and they're just extreme.
Ralph Sinner in the chat says, "Good doggy." That's so funny. But I am curious. I as I'm kind of reading through some of the chats here, I really would be curious. What have you seen in terms of the transformation? Because sometimes it is like, all right, like, I don't know much. Let's be curious. And what's the transformation? What's the result? When you're talking about you wish more people would do this, why?
Better relationships. We can start there. Better communication, better sleep. And once somebody starts sleeping, everything starts changing. And I see that all the time. That's one of the first benefits of creating a practice, is just sleep. So I think the way that somebody shows up in their life, the tension in their jaw and the stiffness of their body, their aches, their neck pain, all of that starts to dissolve. I had the reason why I got into it, many, many years ago, was that I had a really bad pain in my neck, and I started doing yoga nidra, and then I had no more pain in my neck. So it's a practice that can change. Again, it changes your state. It changes the hardwiring of those neural pathways of, like, I can't sleep, or I'm annoyed, right? We go in these practices and we can change the way that you feel. It's like, who doesn't want that?
I think that there's so much. What do you think is the primary emotion that prevents people from being curious about this? And, like, what is it that's keeping people at bay?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know, right? Like, they're like, oh, I don't know about that. There's so much judgment about it. And, they have preconceived ideas of just what you said, of, like, around the Christianity thing of, like, oh, it's that I can't do that. It goes against what I believe. But if they really truly knew the word of God, then they would know that it actually does say in the Bible that it is a way to connect with that source. So again, people, there was a time in history where meditation was very, the imagery around it is not great, so people are kind of stuck on that.
So then, to the point of kind of reversing it, let's say rebranding. Because we kind of said that earlier, like, it needs a rebrand. And I think that it actually, in one sense, it has been a shame, because, to your point, okay, so let's talk about to what we were saying about the impact. It's so critical for the introduction of new patterns and new ways of thinking that our body and our brain and our spirit come to a point of stasis, like to that point of peace, so that we can actually introduce new ways of being. We can't learn something new at that level of real change if we're not at peace, if our body isn't at stasis. So we actually need to regulate our nervous system. And so can you talk about just what would the practical, if somebody was like, okay, I'm going to meditate tonight, what the heck? What do I do? But I want to get out of this scarcity mindset. So let's use scarcity as an example. I want to get out of the scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that through meditation, I can actually introduce new neurological pathways.
Mm-hmm.
What's the before and after and everything in between?
Yeah. So scarcity mindset, so many people suffer from that, right? That thinking, that negativity, not having enough. So the first thing I say is just breathe, right? Again, I go back to the breath because many people are just breathing at the tip of their nose. So I ask them, I say, where do you feel your breath? Where do you notice it? That can be the beginning of someone's practice. And then having said that, if they're in that scarcity mindset of lack, it's breathing in, I am enough. Breathing out, not enough. Breathing in, enough. Breathing out, not enough, right? So you can use different words, relationship issues, not feeling loved and connected, right? You can do the same thing with your breath. I am loved. I am connected. I am with source, right? Breathing all of that in and letting go shame, letting go blame, letting go anger, right? So you can create these little mini practices and it doesn't have to take long. It's like 30 seconds, 1 minute just to begin.
And that deep breath is so important because it immediately calms and like lowers our cortisol levels.
Correct. So the idea here too is that most people are breathing shallow, right? 2 seconds in and out, in and out. So you really want to make sure that you take this longer, the inhale is like 4 seconds and the exhale needs to be like 6, 7 seconds, right? Because you have to drop out of the sympathetic state, which most people are just walking around in that sympathetic state, just with the cortisol crushing you. And so when you drop into that parasympathetic state, you're dropping into that yummy rest, you can smile state. So that breath pattern is really important because a lot of times people think, oh, I'll just do a 4-4-4 breath. And then they're completely anxiety ridden, just anxious because it's too much and it's forced.
So this is why I like the science aspect, because again, I think Christopher Adams, I just saw your comment. I don't know if you've gone yet, but he's like, he mentioned it being new age. And I really, this is where I'd love to hear your thoughts, the power of the breath and how it impacts the brain. What you were just saying about the sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous system, that's so important, It really, really is. And someone brought this up that if we're in that sympathetic nervous system that's been activated and our cortisol is high, it shuts off our short-term memory, which throws us back to the past.
Correct.
And that's where the triggers and traumas can be reactivated.
Correct.
So what am I missing here in terms of that's huge, right? And so
it is huge. And wouldn't that be nice if we taught kids that in school?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be really great if that was a part of our science curriculum? Like how breath operates? Wouldn't that be great if we had 6-year-olds learning how to breathe properly?
Oh my word.
Like that would be a paradigm shift.
Yes.
But we're just not there because we're stuck in these old patterns and these old beliefs.
Yes.
Even though science has revealed so much, because we have this technology where we can share all this information, right? Like we're so lucky now.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you said that. Lane, I think that that's where there's such a divide. And especially, I grew up very fundamentalist Christian. And I really today, I really love Jesus. And I really have seen so much power in exactly what you're saying. And there's not a bridge between these two divides of because it's been for me, I think that it has been misbranded because it's so isolating when it's true, just like how the church, I actually think, has misbranded God.
Yes.
And that's done real damage. So it's like we've got a branding problem. You know? At the end of the day, it's like, my gosh, everyone's so shunning of the other because of the pain that's been caused.
Yeah.
So this is why I appreciate it. Like, I think we're coming from two different sides, and man, I've been on that side and it's been so meaningful. And I'm looking at this other side where I'm like, y'all are doing some real damage. And I really also love the beautiful part. So it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. And wouldn't that be great if there was a rebranding? Like, right? Like, can you imagine? Awesome.
I would love that. But okay. The breathing, that's huge. So breathing, and I like what you're saying actually about breathing in a phrase, because there is something around really actually speaking the truth to us. Yes. And believing the truth that is louder than what's being said on here. Because what a lot of us don't realize and consider is that we're being formed and conditioned with every scroll. Correct. You know, and so even though we try not to be, it impacts our subconscious. And so the concept of these are the things that I want to be telling myself. This is what's true. We need to intentionally say that and speak that out, because otherwise our brain is being influenced by everybody else. So why don't we take influence and ownership over our own mind?
Yeah, I think the scroll, right? That's creating that trauma automatically, which we can't sustain it. I always go back to the ability to sustain. And we're living in such a time right now where it's so fast and so quick, and we're on our devices. Some people have 2 devices, some people have 3 screens, right? There is so much noise coming in. And when we have that amount of noise coming in, our brains just cannot handle it, and we default and shut down. Right. And that's when we start to think badly. Oh, like, I can't handle it. It's too much for me. It's overwhelmed. You know, I think about, young girls with all the likes and the not likes, and what's she wearing and what's her lipstick and like all of that. I have nieces that I watch and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just like, it hurts my heart to watch. And, I try to, share with them just let's breathe through this for a minute. Let's take a pause.
Yes.
Let's put the phone down and stop causing that trauma to yourself, because that's what the phone is doing. It's causing so much trauma in the body.
I told my darling this. I was like, our nervous system is not created to handle the amount of war and strife and conflict, and like, oh my gosh, we weren't created to handle that. Mass amounts of it too. I heard someone say that, and it just resonated so deeply. We were not created for this. We were not created for a digital world.
No, we were not. We were not. Not. So, it's just so apparent too. Just the addictive behavior that's occurring all over the place. Cardiovascular disease, PTSD is increased. Like, I see it so much in all sectors, because I touch the lives of all different types of people. I'm not just working with some, specific segment of the population. I'm going into, like, I'm with teenagers, and I'm with first responders, I'm with doctors, I'm with attorneys. So it's happening on a global scale here.
Right.
Which is, I don't want to be gloomy, but
no.
We need to start doing something. We need to start breathing, start taking pauses from our phone, meditating.
Well, Lane, I got to tell you, the thing that brings me hope is that the county of San Francisco, whatever county it is, but it said San Francisco on your profile, they hired you to teach this. So I'm heartened to know that there's government resources being taught to breathing, because really it's man, if we learned emotional intelligence at pre-K, like how we learn intellectual intelligence, it's the right hemisphere of the brain. It is, 50% of us in so many ways, perhaps even more so. So it really is kind of this lost art of what makes us human. The Knowing Show is dedicated to the cultivation of the human being and cultivating each intelligence. And that includes emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, even spiritual intelligence. Like I believe that we have direct access to God, and we've got that part of us, and physical intelligence. Our body stores data and stores trauma. And so learning how to breathe has that physical calming. I mean, you were just talking about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So like, do we even understand our body well enough? Why is physical intelligence not taught when it's really quite simple? There's two systems, and it doesn't need to be that hard.
No. Sometimes I think, we have to do a reset or something, but that's why I do the work that I do. And that's why I do it with so many different diverse people, all the different ages and ranges of people. Anybody can learn how to practice.
Yeah. I would love for you to give us a prompt that we can all take home with us tonight. What's one, you're talking about the breathing, so let's start with that. What would you have us do before bed tonight for 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think before bed, the breathing, the 3-6 or 3-7 breath is just dreamy. So definitely do that. And then the other thing to do is to do just a mini body scan. Just assessing, starting at the top of your head and then just scanning very slowly, moving down to the eyes, to the nose. And you can just move through each of these organs or these areas and just imagine a light tapping into those zones. And most of my students don't make it down to their feet. Because they're already sleeping there. That's like, it knocks them out. But I think that's a really good practice to do.
I really love that. So closing our eyes, starting
at the tip of the head.
And just light.
Just a light moving through the different organs, different body parts, just moving so slowly all the way down. And you could do it with your breath, you can, from one breath to the next, making sure you tap into each of the areas.
I love that. I'm watching, my uncle passed away two Mondays ago in his sleep, and it was just such a surprise and so sad. And, he was giving his whole life to the church and to his law practice. Talk about the EQ and the IQ and, or I guess spirit and mind, but he really wasn't doing the physical, and so it really is like taking the time to tend to our physical bodies. Yes. It's beyond working out. It's like, am I actually peaceful? Or is my internal world racing and never actually rejuvenating? Because tell me about this, with what sleep can do when we actually do get to that place of peace. How does our cells heal and rejuvenate and even regenerate themselves? Like, you can self-induce stem growth, from my understanding.
All of that can occur when you drop into that deep alpha state. You drop into that state, and the mitochondria changes. You start to go into autophagy, where the cells are kind of eating and dumping out, getting rid of the toxins. You can just, you have to get there though. That's what's critical, is that people are so stressed out that they don't even allow themselves to drop into that state of sleep. And a lot of times people are sleeping at a higher state. So I like to suggest to people, it's okay to get some support around that. You can get little devices that will help you. One of those devices is called an Apollo Neuro, which I think is a great device to use. You can put it on your ankle and sleep at night, and it just sends a little frequency through the body to just put you back into rest. But I think, again, you have to get your body into that state in order for your cells to recharge.
Yes. Well, so funny. I just noticed what our title was, and we never even got to this whole topic of, are you lying to yourself? I forgot. I was just so interested. Okay, so you got sick. You were doing all of this, and then you got sick. So let's talk about that, and then we'll close out here. But tell me about what happened, because you've been teaching people this,
Mhm.
And then you yourself fell into pretty bad sickness.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. So I collapsed last May,
Mm.
and it came out, in my mind, it came out of the blue. But like I said earlier, people were telling me it's not sustainable how you're living, Lane. And at the time I was training, I was at the gym 6 days a week. I was pushing myself. I had traveled to Florida. I was at a conference in a moldy environment, right? So a lot of little things were happening that I was just kind of pushing off, pushing off, right? And so when I collapsed, it was a wake up call
Yeah,
of
no
like,
kidding.
what have you been doing? And again, kind of the joke is on me, because when I look at it, it's like my body was under such trauma. Because there's a bigger story behind this, but because I was involved with an online wellness cult. And so when you're in that, and I didn't know anything about cults. So when you're under that kind of pressure,
Oh,
when you're under that kind of pressure, and again, I was blindsided by it. So that kind of trauma takes a toll on you, and you don't really think about it.
yeah.
And so there were many things that kind of led up to my collapse. It wasn't just one thing. And so this whole last year has been about me, restoring my nervous system and doing absolutely nothing and saying, it's okay.
Wow.
Hey there. I lost you. Oh no. Did you lose me?
Can you? I'm still. I don't know if you can hear me.
I'm still here.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. I can't see anything. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad you're still here. Keep going.
I'm here. No, I guess what's important, or one of the things that I want people to understand, is that, stress, it's coming at us at all these different angles, right? And so trauma is not something that we look at. Trauma is not something, it can be subtle. It can be a relationship that is going sideways. Trauma can be a boss that looks at you, with disdain. Trauma can be loud noises, living under construction. Trauma, right? So people think, oh, trauma is going to be bad. Like, I don't want to, like, people have ideas of what trauma is, but trauma can be small, little pieces of it, just compounding and building and building and building. And the body can only take so much. And once you have lost the capacity, or you've stepped over a line, all bets are off. So, it's like, how do you know when you've stepped over that line? How do you know what your capacity is? How do you know what you can deal with? Your body starts to tell you way before you collapse. You start to slow down. You have chronic autoimmune conditions. You start getting a cold. You start having fevers. You start having foggy head. Like, there are so many symptoms that the body is sharing and talking to you, but we don't identify it as trauma or a problem. We say, oh, it's colitis. Like, my doctor just gave me some medicine for colitis, right? Like, that's so that's what I want people to understand, is that, meditation and mindfulness and becoming aware of your nervous system is so critical with where we are in the state of our world right now.
Yeah. Yes. So true.
Mm-hmm.
And to that point, with literally the state of our world, our nervous system can't handle it apart from knowing how to bring our nervous system back into peace.
Right.
For that very reason. So.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you, Lane, and for what you're doing. I had a thought around knowing specifically, because I've got, my whole framework in my book and all of that coming out. Yeah. And I've thought so much about teachers and first responders and those people who are giving so much.
Mhm.
And are they actually being cared for? So I'm
Mhm.
so grateful for how you're caring for them,
Yes.
truly, because it's a new way of being, you know? It's learning how to, when you just witnessed a terrible car accident,
Yes.
and then to go home to your 3-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I don't have what I need for that, to learn how to just like take that.
And that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Like that is a moment of trauma
Yeah.
that's experienced. And then it just kind of goes right into the body and is held on. And the two body systems that are always listening, like always listening, is the immune and the nervous system. Always on, always taking note of everything.
That
And
gives me
they're in cahoots, right? So
Mhm.
when your nervous system is going down, your immune system is going down. When your immune system is going down, your nervous system is going down. So it's like, and again, who talks about this? Your doctor's not going to say, "Hey, how's your nervous system? Are you taking care of your nervous system?" No.
Yes. Right. Right. I just saw a comment from Wayne says, "You're safe. You have to teach yourself that you're safe."
Yes.
You know, there's something, and I love it. Matthew, Man in the Hat brings up this beautiful verse, like, "Come unto me, all ye who are laden and laden and burdened." And so there's rest. That's the thing about this, an understanding of the different intelligences we have, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Each one of those can be recharged and rejuvenated through different modalities.
Yes.
You know, learning how to bring our physical body into a state of rest and our spirit into a state of rest. You know, it's just like, it's bringing all of it into, to your point, coherence. And so I'm so grateful for the way that you're showing up and what you're teaching, Lane.
Yes.
And you got a shout out about your cute outfit. So figured I'd tell you that.
Awesome.
Win. I saw your neck scarf and I was like, oh, I should have brought mine.
That's funny.
So big fan. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Lane, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful to meet you tonight. So y'all have a wonderful night. I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, try that deep breathing exercise.
Yes, please, please.
Close your eyes and breathe through the different parts of you. Your body is worth taking care of.
Yes.
Lane, thank you. I'll see you soon.
All right. Take